Flight boss, bitch, for sure. Listen to the mind of an Terry's Moon, Flight boss, the Archangel Uriel, and I'm here to carry out God duties and motherfucker responsibilities. And right now we're going to talk about the 2018 Flight Astrological Revamp for all my Libras out there. Now, this is not really getting into the personality. This is just basically breaking down the basic construct of a Libra. You know what I'm saying? So once I break down these patterns and algorithms, you'll be able to understand why Libras act the way they act. Now, different influences and things of that nature can impact in different ways. But right now, this is just the basic archetype of Libra, the Libra energy in general, and with all the energetic forces that comes together to make up Libra, basically. So now, let's start off with the Libra. The stars and the influences was created by the 7th house. Now, what is the 7th house? The 7th house is the house of how you relate to people, places, and things. And it's also dealing with your relationships on all sorts. All the ships that can flow into a river, dam, to a dead end, you know what I'm saying, or to the promised land of milk and honey and bread. So, it depends on what kind of ship you're on and what direction that y'all going on based upon who's all on the ship. But for the most part, all your ships, family, friends, business, co-workers, all your ships, your friendships, family ships, and partnerships and things of that nature. Now, that's the first house. That's the 7th house. Now, remind you, the 7th house is always opposite to the first house. So, a Libra themselves may play out certain frequency vibrations of caring about other people's personalities, you know what I'm saying, and personal issues and affairs, and wanting to apply their personality, personal issues and affairs to someone else's personality, personal issues and affair. And when I say personal affair, I mean personal people, places, and things in one's life. So Libras end up becoming a personal affair to someone, even if someone is in a relationship with another. You see what I'm saying? So it's like energetic forces go deep. Once you understand the basic archetype, you can break it down in so many ways. Now, Libra is ruled by Venus. So what is Venus? Venus is love, appreciation, value, relativeness, compromising, and it has the energetic force to make you indulge in certain things, which will cause bad habits, and you will start to experience situations when you start to learn how to do things in moderation, and if not, you're going to go into a bad end, and that can end up in love matters with people, places, and things that you may cling on to. So and even forms of friendship and communication. Just a loss of communication, it feels like a form of loss of love to you. You see what I'm saying? See, with the Libra archetype, a lot of times they can be in a relationship and do things that keep the relationship normal, even if the relationship isn't normal with them inside. You see what I'm saying? For an example, you may be tired. You may be a Libra and you may be tired of your partner, but you may have been giving your partner a kiss in the morning every day. So mentally that will cause a change if you was to stop now, just because you feel differently. So Libras know how to keep up some type of love illusion facade for the sake of another person, but that makes them more, I don't want to say snake, but that make them more sneaky, like also, because for the most part, when they are being too nice, that's probably when you need to worry, and you need to worry when things change. So it's like they're trying to create balance, so they may experience a lot of unbalancedness in their life, but at the same time, you're going to experience two polar shifts of these things. And, when the time comes that a Libra will switch on you, they will. Now, for the most part, but they may try to do it in the most nicest way possible, in the most relative way possible. So, but for the most part, yeah, Venus is home. So when a planet rules a sign, I like to say it's home. So it's at home. It gets to do what it wants to do when it wants to do it. It could get up and clean, or it could sit down and relax and be lazy. But for the most part, this is the area of life that Venus likes to be in. You see what I'm saying? Venus love and appreciate and value and can relate in this area of life, which is communicating, analyzing, relating, learning how to relate to people. The relationships need some type of value or some type of relativeness or compromising in order for a relationship to work. So, Venus does well, very well. And then Venus, it doesn't matter if you're a Libra, Venus in Libra, or your Libra sign in general, you're going to play out this type of archetype. You're going to find yourself loving and appreciating and valuing relating to others and relating yourself and being creative and artistic in certain ways, and and being able to compromise and see the fairness out of things and create balance in your life in some way to feel comfortable. And you may be a little materialistic from time to time, but that's not. You can indulge into love and appreciation and value, whether that's a person, place, or thing. But see, here's when Saturn comes in. Saturn is exalted here. So Saturn is what? Reality. How one sees reality, how one gains structure in their life, and how one places and receives boundaries and restrictions and limits. Now, how one gains structure in their life could be based upon a person, place, or thing. So you see what I'm saying? Saturn also, like when a planet is exalted, I like to say it's like a kid at Disneyland, or it's like an adult somewhere where it always wants to be. You know what I'm saying? Where that maybe a party or a business or wherever that adult always want to be. Now, a planet that's exalted can fall into the issue of overexhausting itself. So you have to make sure you're not overexhausting yourself right here. But you're kind of Saturn kind of loves being here. Now, what is Saturn doing here? Saturn is building bonds based upon relationships, based upon law, fairness, justice. Law can go into many different realms of realities. You can have the law of your household, but then again, you may be concerned with politics or law outside of you to a certain degree also. When you see injustice and unfairness in any dimension. Also, when it comes to Saturn being exalted here, how you gain structure in your life is based upon the best qualified way to do it on Earth right now, and it can do that as really well in Libra. You know what I'm saying? Which is gaining structure in your life based upon a person, place, or thing. You need a form of relativeness. You need a form of compromising in order to do that. Now, where you place and receive boundaries and restrictions and limits, a lot of times maybe forms of your own capabilities, your own actions, a lot of times your own thoughts and things of that nature. So that's where the boundaries and restrictions and limits could come in. And a lot of times you may put not all your eggs in one basket, but you may put the responsibility of your thoughts and your actions on someone else or something outside of you. So, Saturn, that's the only lackluster part, but Saturn don't really care about putting a lot of energy into things anyway. Saturn is all about results. So you can overexhaust yourself into trying to see things in reality, trying to be practical, trying to create structure in your life and things of that nature. A lot of times you can go too far. You can overexhaust yourself in that area. So when you got Saturn and being exalted in Libra, all Libras may play out the archetype at some time. They may play out the archetype of taking their relationships too serious, maybe getting married too early, maybe coming to all practical conclusions on how to relate, and if relating have something to do with materialistic or gaining something like that, then you will do the practical conclusion to do that, or you would want to be known or seen for that, and you would like to build on that and gain structure in your life on these things also. And you like to gain structure in your life based upon your relationships or whoever you're relating to and what you're a part of, and based upon some form of communication. So that's how that works also. Now you have Mars. Now Mars is away here. So when a planet is away, I like to say it's at work. So what is Mars? Mars is intent, willpower, passion, motivation, and desires. Now Mars being away is somewhere that it really doesn't like to be at, but it has to utilize the tools that it have in order to get the job done. So in a nutshell, Mars is in an area of life that it has to do things that it doesn't necessarily like to do at the moment. So the area of life that Libras may play out a lot of times lackluster energy into their own intent, willpower, passions, motivations, and goals at times. And a lot of times they may see it. They may not even see it this way. It's just the way they may see it is they feel more comfortable with aligning themselves with other people's intent, willpower, passions, and motivations and desires. And they're like kings and queens at relating. So they rather give ideas. They rather add ideas and add themselves and add their intent, willpower, passions, and motivations to someone else's. These are the people who probably came up with the word teamwork make the dream work. You see what I'm saying? Like, or someone very close to this energetic energy. Also, these people are about their passions, motivations, they like to relate it, and they like to relate these and communicate them to others. So a lot of times they may do more percentage of communicating and relating their intent, passion, and motivation other than actually going for it and acting upon these things. So a lot of times they do a lot of talking because really they're just subconsciously trying to reach out and hope someone volunteer to help in some way, shape, or form. But you know, not help in a way of they need help, but just that's the way they see things. It's not necessarily that they need you. It's just that the experience is better to them with you, doing it with you. You see what I'm saying? So that's the thing with Libra. So if you think a Libra is clingy, it's not that. What it is they just feel more better doing it with somebody. It's not that they need to, but anytime a Libra get pushed into having to do a lot of things by themselves, these are more Libras that may have grew up in bad circumstances and situations, or may have seen a lot of experiences in their life to make them feel like there's no need to do that. So they only found the need to relate to themselves. And this is like a damaged Libra, but in some way, shape, or form, they end up charming up based upon the people, places, and things that they end up being around because they long for that love in some way, shape, or form. Now, yeah, so that's how this may play out. But for the most part, when it do come to your intent, willpower, passions, and motivations, you always end up having support in some way, shape, or form, or you end up finding your way in some circumstance or situation where you can get the job done, and it may take you a lot less actions than someone else, per se. Let's say a fire sign. Now, the sun fall here, so that's a good segue for this right here. The sun falls here. Now, what is the sun? The sun is your actions, the way you act, how you see things, and what you're consciously aware of. So for the most part, the sun, when a planet falls, I like to say it's sleep. So when you sleep, you have nightmares, beautiful dreams, or you have regular dreams and things of that nature. So the sun is doing the same thing. And when I'm talking about the sun, I'm talking about the energetic vibration of the sun. So it plays out through the whole archetype of Libras. Pardon me. So for the most part, Libras, a lot of times, now when you look at their actions and the way they act, like anytime a Libra jump into their bag and jump into the way they act and their actions and how they see things and what they're consciously aware of and really truly believe in that, they end up experiencing that they can do things that they never thought they can do before based upon their actions or what they're paying attention to and things of that nature. Now the nightmare can be like a Libra may self-doubt a lot, may not be assured of their own actions a lot, may feel the necessary need to express themselves a lot and communicate themselves before taking action because they need some form of relativeness or some form of what's the word I'm looking for, validation. You know what I'm saying? They want to get validated or need some type of sense of alrightness from others or things of that nature. Like, all right, it's a go. You can go ahead and do with that. We can relate with that. Or they won't feel like it's relatable if it's not being seen in any way in their life. You see what I'm saying? As far as their actions and how they see things. And so they have self-doubt a lot of times. So that'll lead into nightmares where a Libra won't take as many actions just because of the situation and things and the stumbling and falling and the obstacles that they may have to endure, other than like a fire sign may endure a lot of those, but a lot of those may not have had to been experienced. You see what I'm saying? You could have took lesser routes, and this is what Libras get the gift from having the sun fall here, because for the most part it could be a circumstance, a situation where the Libra doesn't have to take as many actions and go through as many bad experiences as the other signs to get from point A to point B, because they had them communicated and analyzed and related enough to know the right way to go about something the first time around. So that's another thing too. Like, you know, they may get lazy at times and feel lack of energy, but a lot of times the energy that they do put their force field into is actually more helpful and more relatable than actually stumble and falling with your actions a lot of times. So, you know, that's how the sun falls here. But it's a gift and a curse to everything. When the sun falls, that don't mean that you're gonna just lack action every day. You may lack energy sometimes, energy to act on things, but the sun energy always get filtered through the air. So you got more energy than others when it comes to the mind. So even if you ain't even got nobody to communicate with, you're communicating with yourself. That's where all your actions go to. So you could talk to yourself and you could do some goddamn talking. Now, the element is air. So air is thinking and communicating, which is analyzing. You see what I'm saying? Now, also, I want to talk about the sun. The sun is sleep. So that means your actions and the way you act is not being seen. So a lot of times you have to communicate your actions. You have to talk about what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? Before somebody see what you're doing. But if you're doing something explosive enough, it's gonna draw out and spark the antennas of others to talk about it in some type of way, for others to relate about it to other people in some type of way. So you got this big old relation energy going on with you that doesn't necessarily just have to involve with a partner relationship. You're just relating to things and people and places in general. See what I'm saying? Like a Libra actions has the ability to be communicated about to a large amount of people on their own terms. Now, so they can become very popular people unwillingly. Now, it's air, so it's thinking and communicating. It's cardinal, so it's cardinal air. Initiating and creating new ways of how to think and communicate. So a lot of times, these people like to initiate the relationship, initiate the foundation of the relationship, initiate the foundation of the friendship. And these people like to withhold it. So they care a lot and they relate to people. So a lot of times when they jump in their bag on them certain days that they need to themselves, they can become very evil or very two-faced. Also, it's left brain. So when we say left brain is dealing with logical. You're dealing with logic and things that's logical. Now, it's also a yang. It's yang of the left brain, because the right and the left brain, everything has a yin and yang to it. Just like your brain, your right and left brain is yin and yang. The right will be the yin of it, the left will be the yang of it. So for an example, the left brain represents logic in the external realm. Now yang represents the external realm also, and things that you're consciously aware of and what you can see. So right here, this make air signs and then Libra in general like to communicate and relate and socialize and partake into the realm of reality that's external, that's outside of us, the yang realm, that's the fire realm. Well, it's not the fire realm. Like, people get that mixed up. People think the yin realm is the water and the yang realm is the fire, which you can correlate that to, but it's really not that. You see what I'm saying? But for the most part, the left brain yang is air and the left brain yin is earth. And when we got the left brain yang right here, this is people who like to express themselves, very expressive. That's yang, and they like to express themselves on an external or take the shape and form of things that people can see. This is how you relate. You see what I'm saying? A person who don't like to relate don't like to take a shape and form. A person who like to relate is a person who can see what other people may like and know how to take that shape and form in some way, shape, or form. Whether that's dealing with a conversation, a way of being, a personality, or just being kind-hearted and things of that nature. So, you know, also, now, and then last but not least, the area and a time and a date and a location that when you was born that made you a Libra, that area of space in the astral realm, its influence and the star constellations, like the actual stars of Virgo, has moved into that space. So you being a Libra, as everything I explained, is being backed and supported by the influences of the lights and the illusions of the Virgo stars. Now, what does that mean? Now, look at it like this. Let's look at Virgo. Virgo is mutable. Now, the way Libra is cardinal air, initiating and creating new ways of how to think and communicate, right? And relate and have fairness. Now, that's being backed and supported by mutable earth, being mutable, being able to adapt to your own way of thinking and being practical, which ultimately is making sense out of things, right? Then dealing with thinking, communicating, and analyzing effectively, and being smart and looking at the details, which is Mercury, and also dealing with the energy of scheduling, practicality, shape and form, stability, foundation, which is the earth element, because earth is exalted in Virgo, and all that get filtered through your cardinal way of communicating, analyzing, and creating fairness and relating. So you like to relate about, so you're here communicating and relating and creating a foundation amongst a bunch of earth, practical, reality, structural, things and things that make sense. You see what I'm saying? So you're trying to create a foundation, even if that's based upon a relationship. Flight boss, bitch. Goddamn air.